Hello everyone and welcome back to JB's Total Gaming, where today I'm taking a look at Besiege. So Besiege is an interesting game where you take all different kinds of components and you build vehicles and you use them to destroy villages and castles and things like that. There are all kinds of games out there like Scrap Mechanic, all different kinds of games that allow you to build different things. One of the things about this game that makes it a little unique is the idea that you have these objectives. So this is the very first objective on the very first mission. Basically, we are besieging areas and trying to take them over. So this very first one, we just have to take out this little house where this farmer's at. That doesn't seem very nice. We'll eventually take on castles and things like that. But after we take over a different number of areas within a continent, basically we move on to another continent. That's the way the game works. Now, this game has other things like multiplayer that it recently added, but we're going to kind of take a look at just the basics of it right now. Now, I want to point out, I am brand new to the game. I literally just downloaded it. So if you're looking for expert tips and advice, this is not the place to go. However, if you're interested in this game at all, this might be a great place if you're new to learn some things, and we'll learn together. So let's talk about some basics things. So this is my very first ever creation. So isn't it great? So, and you know, much like my real first time, it's a little bit awkward and overly complicated. So you can see here, we've got all kinds of things here. So I've got release mechanisms that we can blow things up. I've got these over here that we can do stabbing attacks. We've got flamethrowers over here. There is an unlimited amount of fuel. And of course, we've got blades of death on the front. So this is kind of a crazy thing. How did this come about? Well, let's talk about how you actually build in the game. Well, the basics of each section is you're going to start off with this area that you are allowed to build in. You can turn this off and build bigger than that, but you won't get credit for beating the mission and move on if you're doing kind of the, I don't even want to call it a story or campaign, but the mission part of it. You have to build your vehicle within this box in order to get credit for it. So we built this kind of crazy thing. This is way more complicated than we need it to be, but I wanted to show off a few things. So whenever you build, you're going to start off with a base block here, and then you will build off of that. So we can go through, there are some basic things with the main things you'll probably want to use, and you know there's a steering hinge here. We'll talk about that in just a second. So if I want to at any point, I can go to the block section, I can click on a block, I can add it. I can also easily hit X, highlight over something to delete it. There are other ways to do things, but it's pretty simple however you want to build things. You can rotate things and find where you want to place them, and the blocks are pretty self-explanatory. You've got all different kinds of things, poles, hinges, and we're not going to get into all the specialty things. Grip pads, you can even put a camera on your vehicle if you want to. One of the important things you definitely want to know about is bracing though. So if I select this brace here, I can select pretty much any point I want to and drag it to another point, and you see there, bam, it just put in a brace. So actually I wanted to go well, almost whatever point I want to. Sometimes I don't seem to entirely understand how it's working, but in general, I can select a point and then go to another point, and when I let go, there, it set a brace in there. So we've got all kinds of bracing going on here. This is insane. You don't need that much, but I just wanted to give an example. Bracing is pretty important in the way in which you build your structure, because, you know, this is physics-based, and while you can do things like make your creation invulnerable, that also will not allow you to complete a mission. So by bracing, if we're doing like a catapult and it's putting a lot of pressure on a certain area or something like that, bracing will help us to not destroy it. Again, there's all kinds of hinges and things we'll get into. We're not going to get into all the things, but basically all you need to know to start is all your different subcategories are down here, and there also is a search function if you're looking for something specifically. So there are steering hinges and steering blocks. We're not actually using that right now. If we could just put 4 wheels on here, and we could use 2 steering hinges on the front, or we could even put steering hinges in all 4 wheels and map them to the same thing so that we'll turn. And steering blocks were put in the game. They do update the game relatively often because people didn't really like the steering hinges, but the steering blocks really aren't that great, whether you're just putting them on 2 or all 4 wheels. So we are using kind of a more tank control, you might say. So if you notice and you look closely, there are 2 wheels on each of our wheel sets. So let's talk about that. Now the inner wheel on each of our wheel sets, and this is just one way to steer, you definitely don't have to use this way, is if I go to this here, our key mapper, this is super important. Excuse me one sec. All right, we're going to look at this. You can see here I have this set to I to go forward and K to go in reverse. Now W, A, S, and D are set to the cameras right now. I'm not sure if you can change that or not, but all 4 of my inner wheels are set to that. My outer wheels, however, are a little bit different. I have these 2 going forward and these 2 going in reverse. I may not have done this exactly right. I did watch a couple videos before I sat down to play this on the basics just so that I have some clue what I'm doing. The outer wheels I have, you know, kind of like a W, A, S, and D setup, but with I, K, J, and L. Over here, I have 2 going in the opposite direction. And the whole point of that is if I hit, you know, I or K to go backwards or forwards, my inner wheels will move me. But then if I use the J and L for left and right, then I can go forward and turn one direction or even just pivot in one direction because those are on their own individual control. So if I just hit forward or reverse here, you can see I'll do that. If I just hit one of the side directions, those outer wheels will work to turn it, and then I can still go forwards or backwards and turn my vehicle while I'm going. So this is my preferred way of steering after taking a look at it and taking a look at some of the tutorials and whatnot. And I'm pretty happy with it. So there's, again, just some basics to let you know. There's all kinds of different stuff in here, though. There's mechanical. There are decouplers, so we can detach things. There are contractible springs, which is one of the main ways we can do catapults and things like that, because when you pull these in, they are very powerful and they react very quickly. You can do suspension. This vehicle, we haven't done suspension on. Sliders that basically help things not stick on things if you're having components moving over other components. Maybe you're doing like a ballista or a trebuchet or something like that. There are pistons. You can see we have pistons on the side of the thing here when we extend these spikes here, so we can put several pistons on each other. There's all kinds of stuff. Grabbers are what we are holding, ropes and winch, but that's what we're holding these grenades with. There are bombs that detonate on impact, but these are bombs that we can set and then activate with a key press as well. So again, if we want to go into this key mapper here, you can see that we have set the grenades to B. We could set each grenade to separate ones, or we could set them both to the same, and the droppers here we have set to V. So just to show off some of the things you can do here, because that's when we get into the weaponry. You've seen metal spikes, we can do blades, we can set blades on rotating blocks in order to create big fans or even helicopters and things like that. Circular saws we have on it, we can do a drill. There are cannons, so you notice the cannon here says only 1 shot. The shrapnel cannon, only 1 shot. There are repeating crossbows. It has 30 bolts that we continue to fire. There are flamethrowers. They have a total of 10 seconds. There are vacuum blocks, water cannons. You know what? Let's put, and actually, let's see if I remember how to do this here. So we can rotate it like that. And I'm still learning the controls for everything. So how do I... Nah. Nope. Oh no! So I accidentally took out a spot there, so we'll hit undo. There is a button so that I can differently orient my torch here, but for now, let's just, we'll rotate this one inwards. We can put torches on there. Now this might be a terrible idea actually, because our entire mechanism for the most part is wood, and if you catch this on fire it will burn down. So, but just so you know, there are bombs that explode on impact, the remote grenades we have. Yes, there are rockets, there are flaming balls and boulders, things that we can hurl. So there are all different kinds of crazy stuff. Now here's a section for flight. There are, I believe there are Da Vinci screws, and then we have propellers and wings. You can set ballast a different weight and balloons a different way to help offset weight and things like that. You can put armor plating on things, and this is like a holder to maybe hold a bomb or something like this for a catapult. So, and you can search independently. So this is what is kind of in the base game right now. So it's a pretty interesting tool set, and you can do a lot of cool things, and you can see, you know, you can make a bomber actually out of just what's in the base game. And if you search for Vanilla Creations Besiege, you'll definitely be able to find that. And if you just search Creations Besiege, you can see what you will do, what you can do with all the different mods and the things like that. So now that we actually have talked about this a little bit, we have an insane number of braces, and now that I don't even remember what all the different buttons are. So let's see here. I think let's go ahead and use the saws first. So yep, that was pretty effective, and honestly, that's all we had to do for that mission. But we have all different kinds of stuff to do. So let's set fire to some stuff. So let's, remember, my fingers are in the wrong place here. But yeah, let's do this. And turn, and there we go. We set fire to some trees, and you notice that we are now out of fuel. And just for the fun of it, we, I'm trying to remember what, there we go. There's that button. Hang on a second. We have some work we got to do here. So yes, we have completed the first mission. However, peasant dude, come here. I want to try something. Turn. Come back here, peasant. Oh no, peasant dude. Oh, we missed him. Okay. So that means that we're going to have to do something else. So I think we will do, well, peasant dude's pretty fast. And then we will do this, and we will blow ourselves up, and the peasant dude will live. But there you can see that we've kind of we're still alive. We are still a look at that back wheel go. There's our one saw still going there. So you can see all the destructible environments, the cool stuff that you can do, and well, yeah, should we? We're just going to take the peasant for a ride. There we go. We took the peasant for a ride, and he's managed to still escape the saw blade. Okay, so there is the kind of first section of the game and some basics of how it works. So let's go ahead and jump into the next zone. And again, like I said, I made this way more complicated than I needed to. Now at this point, I have this creation. It's saved from before, and we're going to get slowly more and more complicated as we go. So for this one, maybe we'll try something entirely different. Alright, we're back. Now, I wanted to show off at least one more creation in this video, just to give you an idea of some of the, again, basic stuff you can do. Now, one of the things I want to point out, too, is when I originally built this kind of frame, there are different ways you can build stuff to make it more stable, with, like, interlocking and things like that. And another thing you can do, and I wanted to point out, is when I brace here, you see how I put it kind of on that section there on the side, not on top of it, and then I ran it through. I actually put a brace now from here to here on the inside, which is going to give this more stability. So you can see here, and again, not an expert, there are different ways you can do it. I have a brace on the outside here, but then I also have several going through the whole thing. So braces can go through blocks and things like that to help make this base more stable. Now, obviously, I could build this in a lot better way, but I want to do this quickly and kind of show off some of the basics of, I just mentioned you can build a catapult. Now, the reason the arm and all this looks kind of wonky is because I realized I was having trouble fitting it in the space. Instead of rebuilding all of it, I went in here. Now, there are different tools like this where you can move something up, and to see that would move it outside of the box, but I could definitely move it down and move it different directions to help me try to fit it within the box. There are undo and redo tools, and also you can save your creations at any time. And if you want to overwrite an existing one, just to point out, you can click on an object and then re-click on the save icon just to let you know. So we have this kind of crazy thing here, and just to kind of show off how this works, yes, there is some chickens there, but let's back it up a little bit, maybe angle it a little bit here, and just hit the button and see how this goes. We blew right by it. Okay, so now there's, of course, all different things you can do, changing around to different angles, and the different tensions and the things like that. And actually, you know what? While we're here, let's show a little bit of that off. You remember before I talked about how you can kind of change what you, like the rotation or what button activates or things like that. So let's go back into this, and one other thing that's a big thing I want to know starting off is that you can change these settings as well. I can make individual wheels or different components move faster or slower. So if I want, I can turn all of these up to 200%. So again, if I'm having issues where maybe I want something to work more in balance with something else, this is something that I can do. A lot of the components that you are able to control manually, you can either speed up or slow down. In fact, you can even speed up and slow down the game over there. So let's say you're trying to do something that is kind of crazy and is eating up the frames and making the gameplay kind of choppy. You can actually slow vehicles down overall so that you'll still get told like maybe I'm going a certain speed or whatever, but it basically slows the game down in order to allow you to do that. Now here, let's go ahead and, whoa, we can go all the way up to 10. Okay, I haven't really played with this yet. Let's go to 1.84 or whatever. We'll try to get around the same here. And the reason, there we go, 1.84. So the reason that I don't want to go too high is I'm afraid that maybe we'll tear this thing apart. So let's back up here. And as you can see, we are already much faster. And also causing a little bit of instability because of that. So let's back up a little bit more carefully and almost lose our item there. And maybe we shouldn't have set it up that high. Now, yeah, we're going to be off to the right here. So I don't know how far this thing is going to launch, but let's find out. Okay, we also, I think, screwed this up with the tension maybe a little bit and made it, oh, and maybe that's what it is. It made it too tight to initially start, maybe. Okay, so let's go back to 1 and see if that makes a difference. So again, I'm learning along with everybody here who is learning. So let's go ahead and keep our crazy speed. And yeah, okay, so it's also our initial tensile strength. So we don't necessarily want to have that up too high. So how do we want to do this? So maybe that's a good angle here. And now let's try it. Oh, I didn't hold the button down. Okay, that's good to know. So I have to hold it down all the way. And bam! Okay, direct hit. So there you go. So there is a few more things to bear in mind. Let's go ahead and check out our next zone real quick here just to see what we have. Okay. Now, this one is a little bit more difficult. So one of the cool things about this game is it's not just destroying things for the missions. We have to get to the insignia here, so we can go ahead and check it out. We need to get to this place, but we've got all kinds of sheep in the way, and more importantly, we've got landmines. So we can probably do things to take them out, do things to try to get around. So if we go around here, yeah, it looks like there are obstacles in our path. So this is something, honestly, we'll see if we do another video on this, if I feel like even attempting to do a flying machine or something like that, maybe we could land a helicopter in there. I don't know. I am legitimately just learning the game, and people who know this game who for some reason came across this video are probably going insane at the ridiculous silliness and simplicity of the builds we've done so far. But there's an example of some more things that we can see, and again, I just wanted to show off some of the more things you can do here. There's all different kinds of things you can edit. I haven't played around with symmetry or things like that. Cameras that you can put on the thing, and all different kinds of things that you can tweak. So even though the tool set in the base game doesn't necessarily show off is all that varied, there are interesting things like powered wheels and then unpowered wheels, powered cogs and unpowered cogs. You can do some crazy stuff if you want to look at that stuff. So if you like this, let me know. Leave a like, leave a comment, share, subscribe, and maybe we'll do more of this if this is something people are interested in checking out. And if there isn't really a lot of interest, hey, I at least wanted to show this off to the channel, as I think this is a pretty interesting game, and for people more intelligent and more creative than me, can do some crazy stuff. And even if you're a simpleton like me, you can still have fun doing some kind of stupid, silly stuff and trying to complete these objectives. So alright everyone, one last surprise before we go. So I went and checked out the tutorial that I was talking about doing a copter before, and I followed the instructions tutorial, and I'll actually put the link to that video in this video as well. So I wanted to show off that yes, we actually managed to do it. Actually, we could apparently just wait until the sheep go and take everything out, but check out this thing. So I can go pretty much any direction that I want to with this. I can go up and down, and I can also rotate on an axis as well. So let's figure out which way is actually forward here. So let's turn a little bit this direction. and head this way. So here you can see that we have a quadcopter. So kind of craziness going on here. And this design specifically that I was looking at, if we look at it more closely, and we can actually slow it down a little bit here to check it out, this is kind of self-stabilizing. So this has some of the blades here used for lift, and then these other ones used to help stabilize it when it's going. So I'm not going to get into how all of this works, but basically, if you want the gist of it, the way this is going is we have these 4 wheels here that are all set to automatic. I don't have them controlled at all. They're constantly spinning, and that's what allows us when we start to just go. So those ones are on automatic, and that's giving us exactly enough lift to keep this stable. Now, these mechanisms, though, we have basically that brace going all the way from the bottom to the top to make this one unit. And then we have the ballast here. These ballast, it both give us weight and give us something to build off here. And in order to get them out in the middle of nowhere initially to build, you can actually build ballast out from the start, get to a point that you want, and then delete them as well. And then obviously we have the framework keeping them together here. So these are one individual unit. And then we have a secondary wheel that we have mapped to controls that will give us up and down movement. So each one of these is one unit with an automatic wheel and a secondary wheel, all connected through this ballast. And then we have to make sure our all those are facing the right direction, so that now basically this wheel is going automatically and just spinning this one. But when I add this one, these ones are now contributing to that, and they can also go in reverse to basically cancel out the ones we already have. And you can change the speeds, and again with all of these, so I could raise or lower less so if I changed the speed on one of these, so right now the top one is going at 200, and if we change the bottom one to less than 200, then it would still be going, but not fast enough to be able to give us full lift. Now in the center here, we've got all kinds of stuff going on here. We've got our central block, and then we've basically got 3 different mechanisms of 2 wheels connected again with a brace. So we've got this brace, or a brace going from the bottom to the top, with these wheels going the same direction, and then this one connected to this one, and this one connected to this one. So what do these all do? Well, they're all mapped to different things. So for example, this one in the center basically is what allows us to turn on our axes without actually tipping one way or the other. And then over here, these ones on the side either help us to tip left or right, forwards or backwards, however you want to look at it. So basically the way I have this designed, if I hit I, then I'm going to lean in that direction. If I hit K, I'm going to lean back the other direction. And again, because of the blades that the way they are, once I let go, it's going to help us to stabilize all that. So, and then of course we've got framing all the way around. So while this took a little while, following the instructions, it really wasn't that bad. You got to make sure, your wheels are all going the same directions for the ways you want to do that, that these are going the same directions. And then the hardest part is making sure your propellers are going the right direction. So you want to be sure as we're going that the air is going, underneath, that it's hitting. So if we slow this down quite a bit, it's going this direction, so the air is hitting the propeller and then going down, and both of those are going the same direction, so that as it spins, that's what's giving us our lift. So there you go. There is our quadcopter. That's, like I said, I'll put a link in the description, but I thought I'd show off some of the other things you can do in this game as well. And this is not a design that I came up with. Like I said, I will put that in the description, so we can even rotate. There's sheep blowing up things, so let's head this direction. Now I have noticed I might have done something wrong, where whenever we go a direction, we seem to also dip down, so I kind of have to also kind of feather the lift mechanism. So there we go, that's the one we want. Yeah, still getting used to which direction is what. So we can go ahead, get over the place where we want to go, start to slowly descend, and we manage to avoid So I think, yeah, that was the one we wanted. All the bombs and whatever in the terrain, and we will go ahead and land on the marker. So there you go. We've done it. And again, we have just enough lift that we'll kind of go back to a neutral position here. But we've completed the next challenge and shown off that you can make some crazy stuff. And this is just in the vanilla build that we were able to do this. So let's zoom out a little bit here and fly around, go all kinds of different directions, and then back to center with the self-stabilizing, which is pretty cool. There's the gyrocopter, just one of the many things you can do. Besiege. Thanks a lot for watching, everyone, and we will talk to you again soon as we see what the next zone is, because I'm actually getting kind of excited. Destroy. All right, so we have to get past the soldiers and the wall and destroy the 2 buildings in the background. Getting more complicated, going back to destruction, and actually we could use this and put some bombs on it actually if we wanted to, but I don't know. We'll see what we try next if you guys are interested. Thanks a lot, and we'll talk to you again soon.